One of the bigger gaming news stories of this past week came from Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford, as he responded to a fan's concern over Borderlands 4 potentially being set at an $80 price point. Randy's tone-deaf response claimed real fans will find a way to pay that price. But I think the true question he needs to be asking himself is not whether real fans can pay $80, but rather, will they want to pay $80? The Borderlands 4 controversy is another early chapter in a story that is still being written, as the gaming industry tries to push prices forward while the community desperately tries to pull them back. Over the next year or so, we will see this transformation take place, and I am very intrigued to see how the market responds. In today's video, I want to talk about Randy's statement and the looming $80 price point that will be hitting our games very soon. The whole Borderlands 4 controversy is actually quite funny considering it was entirely avoidable. There has been literally zero indication from Gearbox or 2K that Borderlands 4 would be set at an $80 price point, but that didn't stop everyone's favorite USB hoarder from putting his 2 cents out there into the world. A fan responded to one of Randy's tweets asking him to not make the game cost $80. Randy lets the concerned fan know that's not his call to make. In an alternate timeline, the conversation ends here and everyone goes home happy. Instead, Randy decided to continue on, claiming real fans will find a way to buy the game regardless of its price. After all, he had to buy an $80 Sega Genesis game in the 90s while working minimum wage and he still made it happen, so why can't you? What has ensued over the last few days is a massive storm of hate towards Borderlands 4, taking the full brunt of the $80 anger despite no confirmation that the game will even be $80. Okay, so let's break this down. Obviously, a multi-millionaire telling people to just figure out a way to find more disposable income is never going to go over well. And for Randy to respond in this way to a fan who was earnestly voicing their concern is awful. Honestly, it's unbelievable that someone in his position does not have the self-awareness to know he shouldn't tweet something like this. But I think all of that goes without saying. I don't need to sit here and tell you for the next 10 minutes why this tweet sucks. Instead, I want to focus back on the first point Randy made, which is that it's not his call to make. There are tons of different factors pushing game pricing up, and as much as the internet may not want to admit it, very few of those reasons have anything to do with game companies being greedy. Randy actually discussed this in a Borderlands 4 panel that took place at PAX East 2025 a few weeks ago. When asked about the potential $80 price point at that panel, he reiterates that it's not his call to make. But this time, instead of questioning someone's fandom based on the size of their wallet, he makes some genuine points. He explains the reality of what is hitting the gaming industry. Gaming budgets are out of control, with games being more expensive to make than ever before. Despite those development costs skyrocketing, the price of games has basically stayed the same. On top of this, economic factors such as tariffs in the USA are affecting the cost of goods. As Randy eloquently puts it, it's gnarly out there. But you know what? He's right. The price of everything everywhere is a mess right now, and it's been that way for quite a while. I'm sure you've seen it in your own day-to-day life, regardless of where you live. Whether it's your food at the grocery store, the clothes you buy, or your subscription services, you've no doubt noticed that everything has been increasing in price. So why then should we expect video games to be any different? I have to imagine this is the very question gaming executives have been asking themselves as they watch Gearbox try to navigate this controversy. What I've seen over the last several months is that this industry is truly at a crossroads. The rising cost of AAA game development is seemingly outpacing the cost of what players are willing to spend. And it doesn't take a professional economist to know that's a recipe for disaster. What I find interesting is that so far, most of this anger about $80 video games has essentially been speculative. I mean, like I said, this whole Borderlands 4 story started from a fan randomly bringing it up. The game might not even be $80. However, there is one game that we know for sure is going to break the seal, and this one game could very well decide what you'll be paying for your AAA video games over the next several years. Before Borderlands 4 was in the crosshairs, a different company was angrily being told to drop the price. I am of course referring to Nintendo and Mario Kart World. As I'm sure you know, Nintendo made the shocking announcement that the upcoming Mario Kart World on Switch 2 would retail for $80, becoming the first game to do so. This sent fans into a frenzy, as Nintendo did the entire industry a huge solid by being the first to take the bullet. Well, we've now almost made it to Mario Kart World's release. We are just about 2 weeks out from an $80 game gracing store shelves, and I can assure you executives everywhere will be watching it with a very close eye. Personally, I expect fans will want to experience the next Mario Kart as soon as possible, and are going to be willing to pay the price. I mean, you can see that from Switch 2 pre-orders alone. Twitter would have made you think there was a worldwide boycott on the thing, and it still sold out in minutes. If those pre-order numbers are any indication, it's safe to assume fan interest in a new Mario Kart is going to be enough to outweigh the internet outrage, at least in the short term. But in the long term, I don't know if that's a guarantee. The people who will be buying a Switch 2 and Mario Kart World within the first few weeks are Nintendo's biggest die-hard fans. Those kinds of consumers would be willing to pay almost anything. And to be clear, I'm not trying to shame anyone willing to pay this price. I already have my pre-order booked as we speak, so I'm right there with you. What I'm trying to express is that Mario Kart World's first few weeks on the market are not what will define whether the $80 price point works. It will be in the following months as more casual fans look into getting the game. It will be later this year when kids are making their Christmas lists and their parents are faced with the reality of an $80 video game. Only then will we know for sure if this price point works and if it's here to stay. It's worth noting that Microsoft has also announced their new games will begin hitting $80 later this year, so we'll have to keep an eye on them as well. I would expect the next Call of Duty will be their first game to make the jump. We'll see if that extra $10 deters players, or if Mario Kart and Call of Duty sales are unchanged. As for my prediction, well, if you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would say we're screwed. $80 will certainly become the new normal, and there is simply nothing we can do about it. But thankfully, you didn't ask me that question 10 years ago. You asked me it now. And I do think it's possible that the current state of the gaming industry may be enough to deter other publishers from adding that extra $10 to the price tag. The top 3 highest rated PC games of 2025 on aggregate review site Metacritic are Blueprints, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and Split Fiction. What do these 3 games have in common? They each retailed for $50 or less. Meanwhile, 2 of the most viral games to come from this year include Repo and Schedule 1, which can be purchased for just $10 and $20 respectively. And of course, there is the plethora of totally free-to-play games out there, such as Marvel Rivals and the ever-present Fortnite. What I'm trying to express is that there are tons of different options out there for someone unwilling or truly unable to pay $80 for a video game. And this is the real problem developers are going to face. Yes, Randy, anyone could find a way to pay $80 for Borderlands 4, but why would they when they can get experiences that are just as good, if not better, for significantly cheaper? With this in mind, publishers will need to be very careful about what games they deem worthy of the increase, and really think about whether those $10 extra are worth the vitriol and potential lost sales. It is kinda crazy when you lay it out like that, right? All of this over just $10. When game prices increased from the $60 standard to $70 at the start of the PS5 and Series X generation, the reaction wasn't nearly this bad. Plenty of people complained about $70 games and were annoyed by it, of course, but the outrage was nowhere near the way it is now. Something about that $80 mark just feels different. I think what we're seeing from the internet's outrage to $80 video games actually has nothing to do with video games at all. What we're seeing is that people are just fed up. When it comes to money, everything kinda sucks right now. And with people struggling to keep up with the basic cost of living, they don't want to see a pastime they enjoy going up in price as well. I think that's where the intense anger is truly coming from. It's not just an extra $10 for your Mario Kart game. It is yet another thing in your life that you enjoy going up in price, putting into question your ability to continue engaging with it the way you want. I truly think people are at their breaking point, and publishers need to be very careful of this fact, because when push comes to shove and people are struggling, Non-essentials like video games will always be the first to go. Okay, that was kind of depressing. I don't want to end the video on that note. Although everything I just said is true, there are some positives we can look at instead. It has never been easier to game on a budget than it is right now. So if you are someone who can't afford an $80 game or just simply doesn't want to support it, there are hundreds of fantastic options out there for you. And if you feel strongly about this topic, I urge you to support the games bucking the trend like Clair Obscur or Split Fiction. And for publishers out there, I actually think there is a lot to be gained from avoiding the allure of the $80 price point. As more and more games go down that path, this will only become more true. For example, it was recently announced that the upcoming Mafia: The Old Country will retail for just $50. It's ironic that Mafia comes from 2K, the same publisher dealing with the Borderlands 4 controversy. Unlike Borderlands, Mafia has gained a huge boost from this decision. I saw tons of people saying they were going to give the game a chance now, simply because of this price point. Maybe at full price they would have waited on a sale, but now they'll be there day one. This is an interesting wrinkle to the story. There might actually be more to gain from being the studios and games avoiding $80 than there is extra profit to be made. Regardless of where you stand on this issue, the $80 game revolution will be here in just about 2 weeks as of the time I'm making this video. And while Mario Kart and Borderlands 4 are the games taking the flack right now, they will be far from the last. As we begin to see the results of this change take form, it will genuinely change this industry forever. Either $80 video games will become the standard, or some dev teams out there are going to have some tough conversations about their current budgets. Only time will tell. But until then, let's try and keep your out-of-touch CEOs off of Twitter.